Hello, good morning and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makide. Just in case you forgot, today is the 13th day in the month of August 2025. It's a Wednesday morning, just to remind you.
Indeed, it is. In the nation's capital, it's about 22 degrees, no rains this morning. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Kayla Megwa Ayo. I think between yesterday and today, a lot of people had a come to Jesus moment. And is it peace at last? Has all of this been sorted and have the lessons been learned? And looking at the tweet from the Minister of Aviation, I think what stands out for me is the last part here, where he says we are sending a clear message that we take safety and security in the aviation sector very seriously, and we have decided to draw a line after these clemencies. That's a warning to the Nigerian people. A line is being drawn after these clemencies. To err will not be human after these clemencies. And nobody will be understood or begged for after this clemency. That's what I'm getting from this message. Ayo, what do you make of this whole situation?
Well, Kayla, interestingly, that's the big conversation we're having with our guests in the studio. But there was something that I learned yesterday from a diplomat who called me and said, look, we are looking at there are certain things we're not really looking at concerning this issue. And that's the fact that since 9/11, aviation rules have changed a lot. In fact,
Indeed,
as simple as unruly behavior is considered a terrorist attack. Now, that shocked me. I had no idea that that was how serious the issue had gotten. Now, to imagine, if any flyer knew that your unruly behavior on an aircraft, simply disobeying a flight crew could extend to anything that, like terrorist attack, it is scary enough for me to back down and say, okay, let me just humble myself and do whatever needs to be done. But hey, Kayla, I think we should get into the conversation, and because it's looking like it's going to be a very, very interesting and very enlightening one for us this morning, because the discussion we're about to have this morning is some kind of intersection between public misconduct, legal processes, and mental health evaluation. Now, we will also like to examine how legal medicine experts, and that's one thing that's generally unknown in our past, legal medicine, how they view this issue, how they assess cases where individuals are unruly in public, like airports, traffic, stadia, and all of those things. Well, let's get into the conversation this morning with Dr. Abiodun Oshiemi, who is a legal medicine expert. He's also a forensic expert, as well as a medical doctor. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That part where a diplomat, said that unruly behavior is considered a terrorist attack. I didn't know that, and it was a shock. Do you think it is something anyone was even aware of? Has it affected our conduct in any way?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you and the management of Channels TV for this interview. It's primarily meant to be a knowledge-sharing exercise, and it's also good to make some disclosure and declaration that I'm not a lawyer, neither have I been paid to come and speak, but I think knowledge-sharing occasions are particularly important in situations like this, because there is a dearth of legal medicine and forensic experts in this part of the world. Specifically to your question, I'll also be answering more with the United Kingdom and English laws than Nigeria, so that I'll bring some relevance, because we're just going on this kind of journey, and that's what's going to guide most of the things. That said, unruly behavior in aviation can range from hijacking a plane. In other words, you go to the cockpit, punch the captain or whoever, and that's a very felonious, serious offense. Unruly behavior can include beating any passenger or any cabin crew person. It's unruly, and it can even be preventing the motion of the plane, which threatens other people and other persons in the aerodrome. So that's the scope of what unruly behavior really means. But I'm sure as we proceed, you may then start saying, when somebody is unruly, what ought to be done or what ought not to be done.
Sometimes unruly behavior, could begin from something as simple as switch off your phone. No, I'm not switching off my phone.
Okay. So, unruly behavior in aviation industry is particularly serious, just like the medical environment, because the damage is usually as a result of loss of life. Switch off your phone is different from put your phone on flight mode. So, rules and regulations must, is not may. In some airspaces, they permit you to put your phone on flight mode. In some environments and flight, it is switch off. Therefore, there is no ambiguity about compliance with instruction. It is absolute. It is absolute. So you can't say that in some environments, you just put it on flight mode, and you can't say, so why shouldn't I? But whatever the case, please, in aviation sector like medicine too, it is absolute. There is no room for personal opinion.
Now, one of the things that I also saw in the build-up to this conversation, Dr. Shiemi, is that things we take into the aircraft, perhaps maybe I even ask this question as simply as this. When people go to board the aircraft, do you think there is enough understanding, enough knowledge of the do's and don'ts? Because some people go, board an aircraft like they're boarding a bike or they're boarding a car. So do you think there is significant or sufficient understanding of what is required of a passenger before going on an aircraft?
Okay, so, sorry, this should have come first, and it's not coming list, but I understand what you have said about knowledge before boarding. So what should have come first is to thank the entire citizens and public in Nigeria because of their concern and interest on the subject matter about the value jet and IBOM Air. To also thank the regulators on their recent decision, because it's a learning curve and very proactive. To thank the law enforcement agents and the police for their role. To also thank the legal system because they stepped out. And more importantly, to empathize with the offenders and also the airline operators and the consumers, which includes us. There's a big thank you because it's a learning curve, it's a proactive stage. Now back to your question about understanding. So from the legal medicine perspective, if I'm going to tell you to take a prescription, which is how you're going to board a plane, I'm going to say that I'm going to give you this prescription. You should take this drug 3 times a day, or you should take this drug once. It will relieve your pain. It's not a cure. And then I'll ask you, do you understand what you'll do? You say, yes, it is to relieve. It's not a cure. Do you understand how many and how you should? Yes, I do. And then I will also see that this person is of matured age. And then I'll say, do you agree to take this drug? The person says, I agree. That's consent. So back to your question. A person wants to go through an aviation journey. Most of the time, they say they agree. You take the form. Yes, you sign. You bought a ticket. Everything is there. The truth is, that's not the best way to consent to agreements. That's not the best way to ascertain that they have understood. And so there should be more enlightenment. There should be verbal and non-verbal communications. And there should be more help assist. The point is, yes, I understand, many people do not understand what they consent to, but it is what it is. It's a learning curve.
Okay.
And so if you go to United Kingdom and all these places, you see more non-verbal communications and verbal assistance to help the journey smoother.
Okay. I'll ask you a professional question from your professional perspective, but I would like you to weave it into this.
Yeah.
Part of the regulations that have moderated aviation, the aviation industry, the aviation security and all, since 9/11, is what they call enhanced passenger screening. And in fact, that one of them is what they call behavior detection. And in the US, for instance, they have what they call behavior detection officers to identify individuals exhibiting suspicious behavior. You want to speak to standards. I don't know if it is something you think we have considered or factored into our space.
Okay. So I can speak as a security professional because I'm trained and graduated from a security department. But I'll speak more as legal medicine and forensic and reconstruction of crime. So the first question is this, and I'll paint a scenario. A person, a captain, entered an airport. The captain was meant to clock in, put his card, sign in, go to the plane. He passed, didn't put his card, went to a toilet. After a while, came out, then went further again, went to the plane. The environment is so trained because both the air hostess is a trained service provider, security, and safety officer in the air. They observed that journey, and the police and everybody was said, this captain did not walk straight. So they went to the toilet, they handcuffed him, detained him, arrested him, went to the toilet, checked his movement, and they saw that he dropped some substance there. And apart from that, they arrested him and checked his blood. Result, he was having high level of alcohol before the stipulated level, and they also dropped some drugs of abuse. This means, as a captain, he is in violation. Now, that is to tell you, even a captain is monitored. So likewise, a person's journey is constantly being screened by some people observing hand movements, jittery movements, aggressive behavior. So yes, that is constantly being done. In Nigeria, they also do it because I've seen sometimes some operatives invite people, just a moment, they start by how much do you have on you to declare, and so on and so forth. The level I can't assess because I'm not in the space, but the experience I know, and also as a trained security professional, every security professional is a psychologist and vice versa because you should study behaviors.
In the cases under review,
okay,
how do you think these play?
Now, I'll speak to this now as a legal medicine and forensic expert. In the case of ValueJet, there are two persons regarded as offenders. QAM1, which is an abbreviation, and the pilots. What are the offense? QAM1, unruly or inappropriate behavior, delaying or stopping a motion. The lawyers will argue differently because they will normally talk about the charge. But I'm making this now from what was seen, and I'll also say the bad side about the forensics. That's the bad side. So unruly behavior, as evidenced by what we saw, from the pilot, who also is a trained safety person, moving the craft in such manner is called not being safe. So those will be called misconduct, which will be attended to, and for the Kwamon will be called unruly, which we've seen. For the Ibom Air, the video which we saw again, which I'll discuss the forensics, Comfort's action in England will be called offenses against the persons, section 18, 19, 20. Permit me, I'm using the United Kingdom laws. We have Nigerian laws, and I was also trained as a security personnel. But again, I'm going to say in an environment where I'm using as the narrative, you know. So offenses against the person, section 19, 18, 19, 20. But, so this was grievous, and it is an offense which should be prosecuted for. And then, of course, the way in which she was handled. But again, as a security professional, if you resist arrest, they were trying to arrest her, she refused. You must use force, but it shouldn't be excessive. And these are issues that, again, the lawyers will argue and discuss. But she also, our own offense is offense against persons by physical assault. And so that, again, will be attended to. But the key issue, therefore, from the perspective will be, the legal medicine expert then says, in England, these persons must be detained, but when these persons are detained, if the behavior is unruly, is it because of under the influence or use of substance, or was it because of insanity, or was it deliberate? It is therefore on these grounds that when a person is in custody, you must determine the fitness to even give or go through interrogation, and to determine where the person will be detained, perhaps a medical facility or in a correctional custody prior to the charges being perfected. Again, the lawyers will deal with this. But the point I'm saying is, when you detain persons, the police detain persons in England, and you are in the police custody, they shall invite police physicians or forensic physicians to, or accredited health medical practitioners under Section 12 to determine their mental health state and fitness to proceed on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kayla is coming in now, but just after this question.
Yeah.
Now that the minister has intervened and spoken to the three major parties, the police, the aviation practitioners, and then the airline operators, what happens?
Yeah. So
all of them, all the culprits have been pardoned, and after 1 month and all.
So I think the minister did one of the best things you will expect, wherein he understood that this is a new kind of journey, and thank God for mobile technology, and so a new journey. Yes, people have been unruly, but they've also violated them. And where do we draw the line? And this is magnanimity of any society sometimes, even state pardon. However, in my own opinion, all the stakeholders, apart from the thank you I've given all the stakeholders, there must be what we call IEC, information, education, and campaign. And there must be shared experiences.
I think that
what has happened in Nigeria does happen in other economies and countries, where when you resist arrest, you will be treated in certain manner, and it is a journey. Sincerely, if I came here to say I had the perfect answer, I'll be wrong.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm using the UK experience.
What's interesting is the minister has also said that there has to be, the lessons have been learned, but then there will be retreats.
Oh, yes.
And he has promised that we're going to be there.
Oh, yes.
The question that I'd love to ask him is it political or not, even though the statement says it's not. Kayla, go ahead.
I love that we're having a mental health conversation about this particular topic, Dr. Abiodun. But I think in many ways, one question that we've been asking is the root cause of unruly behavior. Because in many ways, that's what we're seeing, an escalation when it comes to unruly behavior. And it's not just on the part of passengers. We also see it on the part of people in authority, even with security agents, not adhering to standard operating procedures because they are in a heightened emotional state. I want you to be able to speak to that, the root causes of these unruly behaviors and how they can be checked in the world that we're in right now. Because for many of us who are very social media friendly, we know that there's more coming. There's going to be more, behaviors that we will not quite understand as a people because it's alien to us, but it's things that are happening around the world. How do we check the root causes of this unruly behavior? Is it maybe by being stricter on the populace? What can be done from a mental health perspective?
Okay, so unruly behavior can be deliberate and can be disease caused and can be also under the influence of alcohol and substance of abuse. So let's first look at deliberate. You know the rule. You decide that I want to break the rule because I want to prove that nothing will happen to me. I'm above the law. So that is deliberate, and you can see someone deliberately slap another person or commit an offense and says, yes, I can. It can be deliberate that I am under immunity, I have an immune status, I can park my vehicle anywhere, I can do anything, I have a sort of diplomatic or state immunity. So those, you can say I'm exercising a sort of, and I'm throwing caution to the wind. Now there are some that are not deliberate, but you will still be responsible for such action. For example, a person is under the influence of Canadian hemp, marijuana, colos as it's called, speed, and for those who don't also understand some language, they know the street language of crack, which is amphetamine-like, and those ones will show unruly behavior, but they are under the influence. And then you have those that are insane. They don't even have the capacity to understand what they have caused. And the law then sees this before you also will be sentenced, and the offense will determine the mens rea and actus reus. That is, mens rea being the guilty mind, and then actus reus, the guilty action. So those are the four kinds of things that I want to call the causes, the root causes, or the etiological causes, and then some is called unknown. Maybe?
So when we're in this, when we're looking at, sorry, doctor, just
yes,
so we can get that solution. When we're looking at service delivery, like airports, hotels, the transport sector, where you have to interface with people who may be going through these series of situations that you've mentioned, how can let's use the aviation sector since that's what we're talking about this morning, how can operatives in the aviation sector prep themselves for these realities? What can they do in anticipation of the fact that some people may be under the influence, may be having mental health challenges, may be having breakdowns, many people have talked about the fact that there's a lot of anger in our country. A lot of people are acting out in different ways. How do service delivery people, like people in the aviation sector, prepare themselves to interface with people who are going through these sorts of situations?
Yeah, so I'm sure some know, some don't know. One of the highest surveillance environments in the world is the City of London in terms of CCTV monitoring. And so it means on a 24/7, people are looking at the gates in which people are walking. People are looking at the ways in which people are driving, leaving their lanes and swerving and violating. And so they have an anticipatory and proactive manner which is surveillancing 24/7, both digitally, and you also have people at their beats. To answer very specifically, therefore, the aviation sector must have different kind of surveillance. Electronic using gadgets, studying people's actions, movements, and gaits, anticipating aggressive and unruly act before commitment, and then also people specifically located at certain distances to keep an eye. So it's both electronic and man surveillance. That is one of the best ways. And then you also have the third leg, which is patrol. So some are generally moving around either from location to location. Those are the ones mobile. You have those who are stationary and then electronic. It is with this surveillance that you can have a better prediction and isolation rates, and you can anticipate.
You know, there are so many questions to raise about this matter. As we spoke before we came on, so what are the gaps that have been noticed? Have the lessons really been learned? How are we? Do we have legal, operational, and human development lessons learned that we can say, okay, this is never going to happen? I guess it's only time that can really tell. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Abiodun Oshiyemi is a legal medicine expert, forensic expert, as well as a medical doctor. We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're going to bring you again.
So the gaps
hopefully not for this particular one. We'll talk about that some other time. Thank you so much.
So thanks so much. But I think for the gaps, capacity building is all over the world. Everybody, absolutely. Capacity building, investment in technology, surveillance, and then those are proactive, sustainable measures.
As I said, I mean, from the statement of the minister, it seems quite a number of things are already in the pipeline.
This very interesting morning, and of course we are dealing with breaking news. The press statement from the Minister of Aviation, the decision to withdraw criminal complaints against Ms. Comfort and Manson and to address related matters. And we are going to be really talking about that in the light of all that's happened in the past few days. And joining us for this conversation, Mr. Chima Nnaji, legal practitioner, social commentator, joins us via Zoom from Lagos. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you here with us. All right, so you're a social commentator, so let's take a look at some of the ripple effects of what the Minister of Aviation has said this morning. For some people who've heard this particular statement from the Minister, Festus Keyamo, and they're saying, listen, this was the only way to do this. Remember that we have elections. They feel like there were some political undertones here to calm tensions. You don't want opposition rallying around a figure who may be viewed as an underdog, because that's what happened in 24 hours. Someone that was initially presented as an aggressor somehow turned into an underdog, and then we now started hearing a lot of people rallying around her. They feel like there was some political undertones behind this statement by the Minister of Aviation. Do you agree? Is that something you think about?
Well, quite frankly, I cannot claim to have all the details of the facts, because in the frenetic desire to perhaps handle the situation, some mistakes were made. And given the public backlash, it appears that some retractions or retracing of steps are happening. Even just some few hours ago, I read where those who saw the remand order were pointing out some serious error, whereby the order was purported to have been given on 11th October for the suspect to be brought to court on the 16th of October. And the question now is who will account for the period she was incarcerated from that date of the event till that date. So that is a very serious technical error that beclouds whatever they may have captured in that charge. The issue of the breach of her fundamental human right. And the question again is, given the nature of that particular offense, if she actually committed it, what she's being charged for, was there any reason why she should have been taken to Kirikiri instead of Ikoyi prison, even if they were to have taken her to the magistrate court for that remand order? Couldn't she have been detained at the police and given administrative bail? There are a lot of issues. So with the backlash, there was no confusion as to the fact that it would have taken a political tone as it was going. And so the intervention by the minister, who himself is a politician, acting on behalf of a political party, even though he is wearing a legal garb, as an learned essay. So you see that there are a lot of issues. And I don't think that issue is ended by withdrawal.
That's a very interesting point you've made there. Could you please expatiate on that, Dr. Naji? You said this is not over. They said the clemency has been done. They've given a stern warning. I know a warning when I see one. That was a very stern warning. There will be no more clemencies. Everybody needs to start acting appropriately because going forward, you would have to pay if you commit any of these crimes. But you say this is not over yet. What do you mean by that? What's left?
What I mean is that there are a lot of pro bono lawyers that are threatening to take her case. And I believe that she may also want to enforce her fundamental human right. Because everybody sees publicly that so much has been done that appear to have violated her fundamental human rights, both of personal dignity, restriction to have right to movement. If all the charges, yes, the remand order may have been from the magistrate court, but from that, on the face of it, I don't know whether that is sustainable. So there are a lot of issues that will come out.
All right, well, we'll be watching to see how all of those issues unfold. But also, still looking at the situation, it's brought up the question, and of course, hopefully we'll get that sorted out so we can have more perspectives on that particular situation. You know, and I, you know, I was trying to find out, you know, the access to governance, and that has been a real important question in this particular situation, because parallels were now being drawn between Kwamwan's situation and Comfort's situation. And many people have felt, you know, and looking at everything that's been spelled out, and if we can get that slide there, what the minister has said about this situation. So he says he's been in consultation with critical stakeholders in the aviation sector and those involved in the incident regarding the unruly behaviors. So it's both people he's looking at our airports of recent. He says valuable lessons have been learned. He says valuable lessons have been learned by all sides to these incidents. And airport security protocol, especially, he says, they have been highlighted for the traveling public, which is a very important question there. We have been trying to get people to understand what the rules are when you travel. If you've traveled outside this country, you know there are things you don't play with. There are mistakes you don't make. You can't talk back to anyone at the airport. The airport security is king. The people who are in that sector are king because they're running a business and there are rules to what they do. So he says that these airport security protocol, he says, have been well highlighted for the traveling public. If nothing at all, the episodes have undoubtedly helped to raise public awareness, he says, raise public awareness about appropriate conduct within the aviation space. I think these are the lessons that we should start looking at as a people. Have we understood how the aviation space works? What are the rules? When they tell you on the plane, put it up, it's clockwork. They didn't have to tell me to turn off my phone. I just turn it off, even if for nothing else, for the break, away from my phone so I can have some peace, you know? And he says, on the last two incidents, clear wrongs were committed by both the offending passengers and staff. So he says there were wrongs from the offending passengers and staff of the airlines involved from all evidence available and those available to the public. So he's saying that wrongs were on all sides. It's clear that all the actors involved cannot continue to highlight the injury or justice done to them without acknowledging their own equal culpability. Ayo, well, talk to us a little bit about that. Let's have a chat while Dr. Naji's audio is being fixed. Let's chat about the culpability question and all the parties involved. Have they really understood that you cannot point to myself and say, oh, look at the injury done to me, without highlighting the injury that you've done to the other party, Ayo?
Well, quite a lot of issues to unpack in that matter, and having dealt with this issue for how many days now, Kayla? It would seem like we are doing what the judiciary has been accused of. Now, whenever there's a political matter, all civil matters also take a backside. Can we take a pause on that for a bit? Because these issues, as Dr. Naji said, I don't know, Dr. Naji, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me now, Dr. Naji? Okay. You know, a number of issues, Kayla, on this matter. There are so many other things to look at, if you ask me. There is a perspective that I got from speaking to an international flyer, a diplomat, a very frequent flyer yesterday, that since 2001, this 9/11 saga, the rules have changed a lot. And many people, just like post-COVID, we seem to have moved on from some of the regulations that helped us to align our lives. One of the things that we all seem to have moved away from quite a bit are the rules of aviation. And it is simple. You also heard when you were speaking with the mental health, with the legal medicine expert that spoke with us earlier, and you were asking questions around mental health. For me, it's about processes. It's about procedures. It's about the things that we are supposed to do and know as a people, and whether or not we do and know these things. I think those are the issues, you know, to raise about the matter. Have the lessons been learned? Only time will tell. I'm almost certain that today, Kayla, today, if you get on an aircraft, sit beside someone, there will be someone on that aircraft that will hesitate to turn off their phones. And also, you also heard Dr. Oshiemi say, in some climes, you are only required to put your phone on flight mode. In Nigeria, the rule, according to the NCAA, is switch off your phone. It doesn't say except those people in first class or except those people in business class. Because, you know, part of the other issues, Kayla, that we were hoping we'll be able to take Dr. Naji on are the economic realities driving petrol pricing, the sports issues, judicial transparency, leadership loyalty, political dynamics, so many other things, you know, that are drawing attention, particularly the issue around corruption. You know that story that broke. So yes, Kayla, you know, those other issues. Former governor of Sokoto State was accused of corruption, and then, you know, released on bail and all, and then there's some politics being played into it. From time to time, when those issues come up, and allegations of money stolen or siphoned or diverted or misappropriated or unaccounted for, those issues beg a lot of questions. And the question of trust, the question of political dynamics being factored into those issues, Kayla, they are quite disturbing, aren't they? And unfortunately, the media has the responsibility of bringing all of these issues up and highlighting them for the people. Dr. Naji, what's your take on that?
Well, I don't think that being in opposition gives you an inoculation against being questioned for activities or one's activities while in power. Nor in being in power, or in a ruling party that is in power also affords one or furnishes one an inoculation against both investigation in the case of those who have immunity for the time being, and investigation and prosecution of those who are found complicit or guilty or maybe compromised in some of the public trust they are holding. So it's not a valid argument to say you are hounding opposition if indeed the fact of the material facts of crime could be established against those people. Crime, time does not run out of anything concerning crime. So I don't think there's issue of political motive. If there is a political motive in prosecution, it does not seem to me that political motive can be imputed in guilt of the suspect. If you are just going on your own, somebody can even say that you committed murder and you can be picked up, but can the state provide, or prosecution, can they provide the evidence, the real evidence that the court will verify and find one guilty? You may suffer some consequences, yes. If you have a meeting the following day, you are arrested today, your meeting may not go on, but there are remedies in law if eventually it was found to be malicious or persecutory. So I don't think that argument that people take refrain into is usually very valid. But all the same, people have to say something. So the best thing is that if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime.
Well, Dr. Naji, there's a very disturbing story that we picked on yesterday concerning federal pensioners who protested in Lagos. And a number of federal agencies were also listed. I want to get your thoughts on how you felt when you saw that story, when that story broke to you. And how do you think we are considering the welfare of senior citizens, particularly those who served through the civil service and retired voluntarily?
Well, it's very, very unfortunate that those people in government may not be said to have given proper account of themselves or acquitted themselves creditably in terms of welfare of even generally of citizens, not to talk about those who have retired. Without prejudice to the fact that some of the people who retired were also bad when they were on duty. But it does not give the reason or excuse or justification for them to be left on their own. I don't think the government has done very well. And it's not just even the pensioners, it's for Nigerians generally. The economy is very bad. Those people, the system that used to take care of elderly ones, their old age, maybe their children or their relations or a communal kind of relationship, all of them are broken by bad economic system we have today. Everybody is on his own or her own, and no one is surviving very well. If you have a neighbor that is doing well, the opportunity on the road is such that if you have 100,000 naira, you may not come back with even 1 kobo if you are so minded to assist. And you will descend into the same level of poverty, and all of you will be on the same train. So the issue of pension and gratuity and all the, even those who are now in active service, the issue of emolument, and so they are very vexed issues. very vexed issue. How much is even for the salary? Well, how much do the people working now earn in terms of salary? And there is no support system, not to talk about those who have retired. So the signal you are giving those who are in active service is to escalate bribery and corruption. And you can see the effect of that in the governance process. You can't get any file moved from A to B without following it up.
That's a good place for us to anchor it. Thank you so much for your time all the same. Dr. Chiman Naji is a legal practitioner and social commentator. We appreciate your time this morning. Well, Kayla, that's about the time we have on the program this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your morning. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I'm Kayla Megwa. Have a great day ahead.